Welcome to JasonWhiskyWise. My name is Jason. Welcome to this whiskey review here on my channel, where today you're joining us for a new whiskey that's just been released in the market in the last actually 2 or 3 weeks, and that is the Dingle Single Malt. It's an Irish whiskey, and I'm quite new to Irish whiskey category because I do taste them, but I've never really covered them here on the channel, so I'm actually quite happy and excited because that way I can share some more different whiskeys. And the Dingle Single Malt, I actually heard about their distillery 2 years ago when I found out the master distillery manager at the Glenmurray Distillery, Graham Cole, actually was moving to Ireland to work at the Dingle Distillery. And I was like, what is the Dingle Distillery? A little bit of research and found out they're a very new upcoming distillery, not as, say, old as, say, the likes of the Milton Distillery, Bushmills, Jamesons, etc. These guys are quite new to the Irish whiskey scene, but they do have some other releases in the market. They have a Dingle Small Batch, number 1, 2, 3, 4, and I think there's a small batch number 5, and then they also have some other expressions. I'll probably leave them up on the screen so you guys can see exactly what I'm talking about. Now, this is the first actual release as a core range expression for the Dingle Distillery, and as I sort of followed the journey of Graham Cole, it was something that I was very interested in seeing, sort of how he switches from Scotch whiskey distilling to Irish whiskey distilling and how to create, certain liquids. So, without further ado, I will not ramble on any further. And actually, before I get into my review style structure, I'm going to give a little shout out to Graham and actually his wife Faye as well, because they were two lovely people. I met them here in London, actually at Milroy's, and then I went over to Scotland to the Glenmurray Distillery and met them over there. And, you got to follow Graham. He's got some fantastic polls on the weekend. And it's also really great to actually be in communication with someone who is creating the liquid. So if you guys do use Twitter, follow them. I'll leave their handles here up on the screen. So without further ado, let's jump straight into our review style structure. Mr. Bananas, you're bracing the bottle. He doesn't want to let go of this stuff. So the review style structure of this one. As for age, this is a no age statement whiskey. It doesn't have an age on the bottle or on the tube. However, through sort of speaking to Graham and also going on the website and watching a couple interviews, this whiskey is between 6 to 7 years old. So that's an approximate age for those of you who are wondering about age of this whiskey. In terms of the ABV, this is bottled at 46.3%. It's got that here on the bottle and on the side of the tube. The cask maturation for this one is a combination of PX sherry and also first fill bourbon. And again, this is through listening to the website and checking bits and pieces. In terms of PX, it's 61% PX sherry and then 39% first fill bourbon, so you can see that combination of the two, and it's really nice that they got the detail between the two. Now, the distillery itself is the Dingle Distillery, and in terms of who they're owned by, it's actually family run, but it was founded by 3 people who were the sort of founders of the Porterhouse Brewing Company. Now, in terms of the actual location for this one, I'll show you this one here. It's in Dingle, County Kerry, Ireland. So it's on the southwest coast of Ireland, and I can imagine they must get some very interesting storms coming off the Atlantic, but that will be interesting to see how that would affect maybe the maturation process of the whiskey. And in terms of price point on a full-size bottle of this goes for about 55 euros. And I'm saying euros because it's about 50 pounds. I think it's 48 pounds. Yeah, it's about 50 pounds here in the UK. And the reason I'm saying this is because, again, it's still new to the market. It's not yet been released everywhere. You can get it from the Dingle Distillery website, and it's also released in America and I think all over the place. Now, in terms of exclusivity, yes and no on this one. The reason I say that is because the yes side is it is supposedly limited bottles to about 50,000 bottles, but it is the first release in a core range. So in that aspect, no, because it's a core range expression. But as this one sort of being the first, yes and no. So yeah, 50,000 bottles supposedly is the approximate amount of bottles that are being produced for this first release. Now, without further ado, I think let's just dive straight into what the nose has for this whiskey. Into the nose. So to start things on the nose for the Dingle Single Malt. Now, apologies guys if you could hear another sort of like someone doing gardening or sort of a strimmer going buzzing in the background, because everyone seems to want to do gardening whilst I'm filming. It's just one of those things. One of those things about the weekends. But starting us on the nose for this one, you're greeted up front with a nice sort of red ripe pear. And it's almost like you've taken, like how you have a toffee apple, but you've got a toffee red pear on this one. It's got a nice sweet, but at the same time fruity nose. Moving on from those orchard fruits, you're now moving into citrus. And for me, again, sweet citrus is what I'm finding. And it's gentle, it's soft. For For me, it's almost like you've taken Satsumas. And again, the citrus spectrum is quite a big and broad spectrum. For me, this is like Satsumas. And behind that, I'm getting a bit of a limey character. And I think this is the first time I'm using this. Definitely probably is the first time using it. It reminds me of lime Tic Tacs. So if you ever buy the Tic Tacs, you get the orange flavor, you got lime, you've got, just plain white mint flavor. For me, this reminds me of lime Tic Tacs. And if you guys are dramming with me at home, do leave me down below in the comment section what you guys are picking up on this whiskey on the nose palate finish, because I'll be interested to hear what you guys think and what's some of your favorite whiskeys. Have you tried anything from Dingle Distillery? Now, following up from the lime Tic Tacs, I'm getting a bit of pineapple, and it's not like a freshly cut pineapple. For me, this is candied pineapple. It's toned down, and it's sort of almost like you've got dried pineapple candied cubes. It reminds me almost like that. And from there, you're getting, again, dried fruits, but these are sweet, sort of lighter dried fruits. And for me, it's sultanas, but they're sort of coated in a nice jacket of aromatic honey. And that sweet character is still holding on. And for me, it just reminds me of Turkish Delight. It reminds me of it reminds me of a Turkish Delight that's sort of covered in that dusting of icing powder. God, I've not had that for many years now. Wow, it's amazing that this whiskey brings that back. And I will say this whiskey has also evolved from the first 2 drams from the first time I opened this one. It has changed and evolved, and that's sort of where I'm going from. Because I feel this whiskey is so complex, it's going to start evolving even further the further I get down this bottle. So without further ado, let's jump straight into the palate on this whiskey. Slanger. So to start with the palate on this whiskey, in terms of arrival on the palate, we'll start with the texture. For me, the texture on this whiskey, it's not light, nor is it very full in texture. It has a nice medium body about it, which is really nice because it's not light. Some whiskeys I've tried recently have been rather light. This one's got a nice medium body, and it's rather silky. I think the way to describe this one is it's moreish. It makes you want to dive back straight into the glass to go for another sip, probably pour yourself another dram and really start to exploring, because the flavor profiles are very inviting. But starting with, in terms of flavor profiles, for me, straight away, I'm getting a floral sort of aromatic honey, again, like what I got on the nose. I'm getting that on the palate. And it's sort of accompanied by a nice fresh lavender character. There is a little bit of a soft spice, and I say soft spice because you will taste it if it's your first dram of the day, being about 11 o'clock here in the UK at the minute, in the morning. But it's almost like, I'd say, gingerbread. You've got a little burst of spice, and then you get sweeter. And once you've had that first sort of sip, you then sort of acclimate and calibrate to that little bit of soft spice, and then you move into the other characters which it has. And it's got this nice, almost like sweet oranges, peach syrup, peaches in their syrup actually. Yeah, peaches in the sort of that sort of syrup which you get in a tin. And then you get this almost like appley character, and it's not green apples, it's not cider sort of apples, or those, sharp apples. This is like red apples, nice, ripe, pink lady apples, royal gala apples. And it's actually if you made like your own sort of apple pie, but you made an apple and rhubarb pie. For me, I'm even getting that little bit of rhubarb character, which I tried recently. So yeah, it just definitely reminds me of that. The longer you keep on the palate, and again, from when you first pour this dram, the first 2 drams will be very different from as you work your way through this bottle. At the minute, I'm even getting a bit of white chocolate and raspberry. And one thing I tried just before filming this video is I try to aerate. So a lot of people who drink wine try to aerate the wine sometimes when they take a bit of inhalation of the air whilst they hold the whiskey or the wine on their palate. And when you do that on this one in particular, you get fresh raspberry. So if you are drinking along with me, try this out. I get really fresh raspberries. I'll be interested to hear what other people get on this one, but it's really interesting how you get that on this whiskey. It's beautiful. So let's get into the finish, and we'll come to our concluding notes on the Dingle Single Malt. Into the finish. So overall, to conclude, the Dingle Single Malt, in terms of the finish of this whiskey, it does have that nice medium, I'd say probably pushing medium long, ever so slightly. In terms of flavor profiles on the finish though, you're getting a lot of that spiced apricot. And for me, it's almost like a honeyed citrus. That honeyed, aromatic honey that you got in the beginning, it's now almost fused and merged together with that citrus character, combining this almost like a honeyed citrus peel. Really nice, and it's got something about it that you just want to dive back and pour yourself another dram. So I'll do that in just a second. But in terms of actual score on this whiskey, I'm giving this one over here an 88 out of 100. For me, this whiskey has a very nice balance, but at the same time, it does offer its own complexity, especially with Irish whiskies. I've tried quite a few. Some have been great, some have been bad. This one for me is up there. It's a really nice texture on the palate. The nose is beautiful, and the way it's got this complexity, way different ways you try it. And I'm sure as I get down through this bottle, I'm going to be sending samples to a few friends so they can try it as well. It's just got something about it that just keeps developing and delivering. So for me though, in terms of water, well, money, water, time, in terms of water on this whiskey, I'll start with that. You can add water. Now, if you're trying maybe the first 2 drams in this bottle, I definitely recommend adding some water because it does need a little bit of that water just to open out and reduce the spice. But once you've got past that, once like you're here where I am at the minute in the shoulder of the bottle, it does just easily, it's very easy drinking. In terms of time though, I would give this a couple minutes in the glass just to sit and let it just sort of get itself together. In terms of money, 55 euros, about 50 pounds, dollars, euros, etc. For me, I think that's a fantastic price, especially as a first release in their core range, as it allows a lot more people to approach it. So if you're interested in this whiskey, again, it's got a nice balance, and at the same time, that little bit of complexity, and you know, texturally wise, it's got a nice medium texture, which I think is just great on this whiskey. So for me, this is 88 out of 100. I'd like to hear your thoughts on this one if you guys have tried this whiskey. So be sure to leave them down below in the comment section and let me know if you've tried any of the whiskies from Dingle, or maybe you're planning on trying them in the future. So I'm excited about this one because I'm going to get to try later on down this one as we get further down the bottle, and hopefully we'll see if it develops even further. And if it does, I'll bring you in a video on that one if it has developed even further. But that's going to be about it for this video. Mr. Banana's gone for a walk. I don't know where he's gone now, but we'll find him in a second. If you guys have enjoyed the video, feel free to drop it a thumbs up. I'll leave some other videos on the screen that are recommended. And also hit the subscribe button if you're new to the channel so you can stay up to date with our latest content. This has been me, Jason WhiskyWise. I run off Mr. Bananas, and we'll catch you all for the next video. Slàinte.